Oh, hello? So, witness, please state your name and occupation for the court. Yuji Mikotoba, lecturer in forensic medicine at the Imperial Yume University in Tokyo, Japan. And Professor Mikotoba, the young lady beside you is... Ah, this is Dr. Maria Gori, Scotland Yard's practicing coroner, the daughter of Dr. Sith, I understand. Yes, Dr. Sith. I'm afraid I can't tell you why she's here. She just appeared. You summoned this strange Japanese man as a witness to their autopsy. But you don't summon Mama. That makes no sense. She was there too. That's about the size of it. I've had her eyes boring into the side of my cheek constantly, whilst I was in the antechamber too. Poor man, the idea of it's making me shudder. The revelations about Dr. Sith that came to light some days ago defiled the reputation of the entire judiciary. She was therefore deemed unfit to appear as a witness in today's proceedings. The Ministry of Justice decision on that is final. We wouldn't want any more perjury to be committed, would we? The Ministry of Justice? Some questionable strings are being pulled, I think. I remember you, Dr. Mikotoba. But I certainly never expected to be meeting you under these circumstances. Yes, it's been a long while, Lord Strongheart. The prosecution understands that you were a visiting student of forensic science in London until 10 years ago. That's right. I studied under Dr. Wilson at St. Sinners. So you were present at the autopsy of my brother, Lord Clint von Zeeks. I was, yes. I assisted Dr. Wilson with the entire procedure.
Honor is far more skilled than any Japanese man.
Well, Dr. Wilson asked me to be his primary assistant on that occasion. This autopsy report was actually penned by you, I believe. Yes. I noted all the doctor's findings, and when we were done, he read through the document and signed it.
Poor Mama, a secondary assistant. She wouldn't have done such a good view of all the innards.
So, Professor, do you remember Inspector Gregson? Yes, of course. If it wasn't for his insistence, Lord von Zeeks' autopsy would have never happened. He was absolutely convinced it would reveal decisive evidence against Genshin, you see. So Lord Strongheart had to entreat the nobility to allow it to take place. Do correct me if I'm wrong, my lord. It was as a result of the autopsy that a mass murderer was apprehended, and justice was done. Gregson admitted it before he was killed! He admitted that the results of the autopsy were fabricated! You were there at the time, so you must testify! You have an obligation to tell the truth about what really went on! Absolutely. That's precisely why I'm here.
That's why
I'm here too. Very well then. You will give your formal testimony now, witness. But before you begin, a word of warning. You will state truthfully and accurately what you saw and what you heard at the time. I wouldn't dream of doing otherwise, my lord. The moment your testimony verges on supposition, I will expel you from my courtroom. Remember that. From my own observations, I couldn't say there was any indication of the autopsy results having been fabricated. Death resulted from a wound made by a Western-style sword transfixing the heart. That I found a little strange. There were no other signs of internal injury. Nothing questionable at all. It's just that beautiful but dangerous piece of evidence removed from the victim's stomach. Presumed to have been swallowed by the victim as a way of posthumously identifying his assailant. No indication. Nothing to suggest fabrication? Professor Mikotomo, are you certain about that? Well, nothing that I could positively identify as such, much less swear to in testimony. Ah! Wow, that clears things up nicely. The only fabrication here, Sogi, has come from you. What? You claim the inspector confessed just before his death, but that is the fabrication. No, he freely acknowledged it. I swear he did. Freely, with the tip of the sword at his throat. The man was clearly at his wit's end. Ah! The court will give no credence to this confession that was uttered in obvious desperation. Quite simply, there was nothing questionable about the investigation of Lord Clint von Ziegs' death. And with this testimony we have, without question, uncovered the truth of the matter. If I may, my lord. There was most certainly something questionable about it, and the whole truth does rather elude us, I feel. I beg your pardon. Well, you're obviously aware of the facts of the case. All four of the professor's previous victims died with enormous beats when an enormous beast was set upon them that ripped out their throats. Yeah, exactly. What the hell? The modus operandi doesn't match. Such horrifying crimes! But curiously, the killer's last victim, Lord Clint von Ziegs, suffered a different fate. Yes, you're right. Stabbed through the heart with a sword. That's enough! I believe I warned you about this, witness. I promised to curtail your testimony as soon as it entered the realms of supposition or speculation. Very well, my lord. In that case, the defense will pursue a conclusion to this during the cross-examination. What? Hey, that's my right. I have the right to cross-examine every witness after testimony. And I fully intend to exercise that right. You're not scared. I'm afraid that even the presiding judge has no authority to contravene their letter of the law. As I'm sure every member of the judiciary present in the gallery would agree. Very well! You may begin, counsel. However, the moment your argument strays from the established facts, I will not hesitate to bring the cross-examination to an end. Proceed with caution. Yes, my lord. Alright. Well. Debatable. You couldn't say. No, sadly not. But then you couldn't say there wasn't any indication either, could you? No, true, I couldn't. I was at Dr. Wilson's side as he performed the procedure, recording what he did. But at times, of course, he instructed me to fetch implements and such like. Whilst I was away from the operating table, obviously I could have missed something. And at those times, what was the secondary assistant doing? Following this Japanese man's orders to adjust the lighting or pass him implements. That doesn't mean Mama wasn't a vital part of the team. Quite, yes. Would you kindly refrain from staring at my cheek like that? Professor Mikotoba, think! Was there nothing at all that seemed out of place to you? Well, yes, there was, as a matter of fact. Death resulted. Yes, indeed. But we discussed that before. In all of the previous 4 killings attributed to the professor, the victims were killed by an enormous dog, I believe. Their throats were mauled. Correct. Yet Lord von Zieks was stabbed. Do you mean to say... You think Lord Clint von Zieks may not have been one of the professor's victims? There is no basis on which to doubt the findings of the investigations carried out at the time. But... Genshin Asogi confessed to all his crimes upon his arrest. He admitted to have taken the lives of all 5 members of the aristocracy. Ah! Yet the beast that was used to carry out the killings was never identified. No evidence was found to suggest that Genshin had ever kept a dog. True hound of hell. There were no other signs of internal injury. Nothing questionable at all. Hold it! But you weren't actually present at the autopsy yourself, were you, Dr. Goring? Does that matter? I just wonder how useful your testimony can be in that case, really. I mean, it would be different if your mother, Dr. Sith, were in the stand, but,
I've read all the paperwork about the case, and Mama's told the story countless times. The statement I just made is exactly what's written in the autopsy report.
We can vouch for that, yes. I did confirm that myself at the time, it's true. Besides the stab wound, there were no other signs of internal trauma. I see.
Mama told me all about it.
Oh?
She said there was nothing of note internally. But they did find an amazing piece of evidence. Something unbelievable.
Unbelievable? What do you mean? Come on, Dr. Goring! What was it?
It was just that beautiful but dangerous piece of evidence removed from the man's stomach.
Hold it! Okay, what was it? What exactly was it, though? What does beautiful but dangerous mean?
Well, it was sparkly and round, with a hole, as if it might slip over a finger, perhaps.
It was a ring, belonging to Genshin Asogi. My father's ring was inside the victim's stomach! At the time, Genshin wore a large ring on the digitus scortus of his left hand, the 4th or ring finger. I understood it was some sort of keepsake. My father left Japan for London 16 years ago. I was 8 years old. But I remember that ring. You do? My father's possessions were sent to a family home in Japan after his death, but the ring wasn't among them. Obviously not. It was a key piece of evidence. It It remains under lock and key in the stores at Scotland Yard to this day. After the autopsy, Genshin was summoned by police to check for the presence of his ring. It wasn't on his hand, of course. Moreover, there were deep abrasions on his finger where it had been pulled off. They arrested the man there and then, right before my eyes. How could they?
I brought the ring along with me today.
What?
Here it is. A bit dusty from years in the stores.
Good gracious, yes, that's it. I haven't seen that in 10 long years. That was found inside the victim's stomach. Yes, I'm afraid so. You hesitated there, Professor Mikotoba. Should we read something into that? Well, it's just that, thinking back now, I didn't actually witness the moment it was extracted from the victim's body. Oh my, really? At that precise moment, Dr. Wilson had asked me to fetch him a new scalpel, you see. Dr. Gory. The removal of historic evidence from the stores requires my consent, does it not? However it came to be here, the court cannot deny that this is crucial evidence for today's proceedings. Very well. You may submit it. It's not the sort of ring normally seen in Japan. They almost look like claws protecting that jewel. You must examine it very carefully, Mr. Naruhodo. Very carefully indeed. Ew. Guts. These fat claws are doing a good job of protecting that equally fat gemstone in the middle of this ring. Yes, if you were clumsy, you could give yourself a rather nasty cut on them, I should think. Oh, now my finger's bleeding. The claws really are sharp. My, it's very quick clumsiness, Mr. Naruhodo, even for you. What makes such a dangerous ring? You couldn't swallow it without doing yourself some fairly serious damage, surely? Sticky mochi one of about that size would go down much better with some red bean paste in the middle. Someone as clumsy as me would probably manage to choke on it somehow. Ah. You couldn't swallow it without doing some damage? Nothing questionable? I beg to differ. The court has heard that the ring was extracted from the victim's stomach. But you didn't actually see it being removed, did you, Professor Mikotoba? That's right, as I said in my testimony before. At that moment, I was fetching a replacement scalpel that Dr. Wilson had requested. In other words, you can neither confirm nor deny whether this ring, in fact, really came from the victim's stomach or not. What are you suggesting, counsel? That the ring was never in the victim's stomach to begin with? It's entirely feasible that Dr. Wilson fabricated that detail about the autopsy. What are you saying? That Dr. Wilson was in possession of the ring in advance after it was somehow stolen from Mr. Asogi. He produced it during the procedure, pretending to have found it there and then in the victim's stomach.
Objection!
Supposition at best! What possible evidence do you have to support such a rash claim? This evidence, right here. The autopsy report. It's explicit in that report, counsel. Other than the ring, nothing unusual was noted internally. So I'm not sure how you intend to prove your point. You've already done it for me, my lord. The lack of internal injury says it all. What? To swallow a ring of this size would require considerable effort and determination. And in addition to its size, there's sharp claws all around the gemstone to contend with. My brother was a determined man, and on the brink of death even more so, I'm sure. He would have stopped at nothing to ensure that evil killer was brought to justice. Even swallowing random... But if he really swallowed that enormous ring, it's inconceivable that no traces of its passage down his throat would have remained as internal trauma. No! And there you've arrived at the sticking point. That's precisely why I had my doubts about the findings myself 10 years ago. Why didn't you say something at the time? I did. I still remember the conversation I had with Dr. Wilson in the laboratory that day. Look at this! This is a very curious thing to find in a man's stomach, wouldn't you say? But isn't that rather peculiar, Dr. Wilson? What's that now, Mikatoba? Well, if he swallowed a ring of that size, with those sharp metal claws that it has, surely you'd expect to see some damage to the throat and esophagus. Torn mucus brains at the very least. Dr. Mikatoba, may I remind you that I have vastly more experience than you? I'm terribly sorry. I can think of plenty of ways to explain why no injuries would be seen. No, let's say this. The victim would appear to have ingested the item as evidence to identify his assailant. Go ahead, write it down! So I was right. Dr. Wilson deliberately fabricated the results of the autopsy to implicate my father! I'm disappointed, counsel. The argument is nothing more than speculation. What? Dr. Wilson was Britain's leading authority on forensic science and autopsy work. There's no scientific basis on which to doubt the man's expert opinion. Pardon the interruption, my lord, but damage to the mucous membranes of the throat is easily identified even in living subjects.
Using a device called an endoscope, recently demonstrated in practical use in France. I want one. The government can pay.
I don't think so. And Dr. Gorey, rest assured that your removal of evidence from the stores without permission will not go unpunished.
We open up the dead to find the truth.
I beg your pardon?
But Mama, she chose to stitch her corpses up, with all her secrets inside. That's wrong.
Dr. Gorey is looking as though she's chosen to walk a different path to her Mama. Yes, the ring. What about the ring? Just remembered something. An earlier incident. What incident? The one I've recounted to you before. About a memory I have. Genshin Asogi, saving my life. My father saved your life! It was 10 years ago now, on a foggy night. Genshin and I were walking down some back streets at a late hour. All of a sudden...
Don't make a peep! You're coming with us!
All of our assailants were armed with pistols, their faces obscured by scarves. The next thing I knew, there was silence all around. Genshin laid on a cobbled street. Blood was seeping from his left hand. He shielded me. It was on the ring finger of his left hand that he used to wear that ring. Are you saying? I always believed those thugs were after me. But now I'm starting to question if perhaps I wasn't the intended target after all. Wait, but... Genshin was arrested 2 days after that attack. In that short interval, the decisive evidence needed to indict him was miraculously found. You mean the ring was stolen from him? You think that's what those thugs were after that night?
Objection.
You pathetic coward! You expect me to believe that you weren't involved? What do you mean by that? It was you, wasn't it? You're the one who took it! You stole my father's ring! You set the whole thing up so you could paint him as a mass murderer! Call them out! Open your eyes! You're not scared. You must know deep down. The truth can be completely obscured, even when your judgment is only slightly clouded. But at the moment, you seem to be floundering through a dense fog. Is that why you were so insistent I should be present in this trial? To see you like this? Well, this is an amusing spectacle. A grandiose expression on your face, as if you were Lady Justice herself. Gah. It seems you're thoroughly convinced yourself of this alleged fabrication of the autopsy results. So much so that you've apparently blind to the blatant contradiction that would be born of it. What? Though it's extremely hard to believe, let us imagine that there was some misconduct during the autopsy. If that were the case, why would Asogi not have disputed the findings in his trial? Well, you'd know all about that, would you, with that evil look? In the closed court hearing 10 years ago, the defendant never once denied the claims against him. Isn't that right, Lord von Zeeks? Yes, that is indeed correct. Upon hearing the verdict of guilty, he merely closed his eyes, quietly accepting the judgment. The actions of a man who has accepted responsibility for his deeds and is resigned to his fate. Well then... Oh my, that is very strange. If Mr. Asogi did nothing to oppose the charges against him, then... would surely mean there was no fabricated evidence. This is questionable. An obvious conclusion at which you should have arrived many minutes ago, Prosecutor Sogi. Your twisted loyalty and clouded judgment are hampering your ability for logical thought. Ah! Genshin Asogi's silence at his hearing can mean only one thing. There was no fabrication of evidence during the autopsy of his final victim 10 years ago. And if that autopsy was all above board, there'll be nothing to stop Lord Strongheart bringing this trial to an immediate conclusion. Thank you, Ryunosuke. If it wasn't for your frank words just now, this trial may very well have ended prematurely. Cosmo? What's this latest absurdity, Counsel? My lord, your reasoning is perfectly sound, but for one giant hole. I beg your pardon? You claim my father's silence was due to the fact that there was no fabricated evidence? But there's another possible explanation. You've overlooked the possibility that he had a reason for maintaining that silence. Silence that would lead him to being convicted and sent to his death. If the autopsy reports were an invention, there's no conceivable reason why the man wouldn't have protested. Oh, those results were an invention, alright. There's no question of that. Or are you forgetting that 2 people with a connection to their autopsy have been assassinated? If I force the grievances I feel from my mind, I start to see you in a very different light. I think perhaps it's you who's been living in delusion these 10 years. Me! Kazuma-sama has created one last chance for us here, Mr. Naruhodo. It can only show that there was a reason for his father's silence in his trial. A reason why the man would have said nothing even though he was innocent? Could have been part of some negotiation, perhaps? Enough rhetoric! The court must be shown evidence! What proof do you have? The jailbreak. I'm thinking the dismissal, but let's see if we have something else. Yeah, I think it's a jailbreak. Like, he was promised freedom. Like, someone bribed him. Yeah, I think it's this. Let me double check this. It's true that Genshin Asogi's silence during his trial resulted in his conviction. But that didn't actually lead to his execution. On the contrary, it led to his escape. An escape that was only possible because he'd been sentenced to death. Although I find it hard to believe my father would have negotiated in that way, the defense is correct. Fake execution, falsification of a death certificate, and a jailbreak inside a coffin. Clearly, such an elaborate plan couldn't have been carried out by my father alone. He must have had the help of a collaborator from the judiciary. I have here the dismissal notice of the chief warder who was working in the prison at the time. The notes read, there are indications that the jailbreak was in planning prior to the inmate's incarceration. In other words, there were suggestions of some sort of negotiation between Mr. Asogi and the British government. In exchange for his silence in court, he was given an assurance that he would be broken out of prison. Yes, with that sort of clandestine agreement in place, I can imagine he would have kept very quiet. Go further than that, in fact, I would say that the elaborate jailbreak of Mr. Sorgi can be explained in no other way. Order! First fabricated evidence and now a jailbreak conspiracy? Of course, because it's all intimately linked. The prosecution wishes to summon new witnesses to the stand. Witnesses? People who can testify about the jailbreak that took place 10 years ago. Governor Caden and the poor chief warder of the prison. I won't allow this trial to turn into a farce to summon the governor of the prison after all these years. Oh, it wouldn't be any trouble, my lord. What? Father? My dear friend may appear a little rattle-pated at times, but I can assure you he's extremely thorough. He wired both Barclay and the local prison earlier, asking Governor Caden and Mr. Vigil to attend the Old Bailey as a matter of extreme urgency. Mr. Shums did that. Are you telling me that both men are, unless I'm much mistaken, waiting just outside the courtroom at this very moment? My lord, you must permit this trial to proceed as you declared at its outset. You promised that we would stop at nothing to uncover the whole truth behind these disturbing findings. Very well. Bring in the witnesses. Make no mistake, I too would like nothing more than to lay this business to rest. Would the new witnesses state their names and occupations for the court, please? Hey, Barry Caden, Governor of Barclay Prison. Everyone calls me Gossip. I still chatty little tip. Your other persona, if you don't mind. Oh, I do beg your pardon. Oh, of course. It's not you who should apologize right now. Anyway, my name is Daily Vigil. I used to be the chief warder at Barclay Prison. The reason you've been summoned here to court today is to testify about the jailbreak of the so-called professor 10 years ago. Lush, the professor! We've already been through all this, I thought, a decade ago. And the conclusion was that there wasn't anything untoward happened. Can a convict escape from your prison governor? Hardly what you'd call nothing untoward. Well, the convict's death certificate was somehow falsified after he was allegedly executed. And he escaped the prison inside his own coffin. A plan of that complexity could never have been carried out without the help of somebody of influence inside the prison. Governor Caden, don't imagine that the passage of time will afford you any protection. If it turns out that you were involved in the plot to break Mr. Sorgi out of your prison, then of course, the consequences will be very serious. In all likelihood, a capital punishment. Guards! Hold on there, laddie! All I did was... Witness! Governor Caden. Aye, sir! You have a critical role to play in the public safety of our country. A great responsibility to shoulder. The significance of your testimony in court cannot be understated. Therefore, think carefully before you speak. And Prosecutor Sogi, if you threaten the witness again, you will be held in contempt of court. My apologies, my lord. There's no disputing the fact that an intricate jailbreak plot was enacted 10 years ago. Clearly, you were both involved in some way. So you will testify before the court and explain exactly what took place. Very well. Let the witnesses give their formal testimony. Tell the court everything you know of the plot to break Asogi out of Barclay 10 years ago. It was the day that Japanese jock was found guilty. The directive came from the prosecutor's office. I assigned the convict to the chief warder vigil and put the plan into action behind the scenes. I was responsible for Asogi right up until the night of his execution. But I knew nothing of any plot. I didn't ken if there were some negotiations between the convict and the prosecutor's office. All I did was carry out my duty for Her Majesty's Great British Empire. A directive from the prosecutor's office. Are you saying that was the jailbreak plot? Aye, that's right. Who sent it? Who authorized that plan? I didn't ken that. You're saying you don't know? Listen, there wasn't a thing about the professor case that wasn't unusual in some way. I didn't ask any questions. I just did what I was told to do. More than that, I couldn't tell you. I see. But if the jailbreak plan originated from the prosecutor's office, then one thing is very clear. I suspected there were clandestine dealings going on between Mr. Asogi and that office. The jailbreak was promised in exchange for Mr. Asogi admitting to crimes he didn't commit. That, counsel, is nothing more than speculation on your part. So, let me ask the defense. Yes, my lord? I fail to see how these witnesses can have any more pertinent information here. Do you intend to assert your right to a cross-examination? No, absolutely. I have no intention of squandering a single opportunity, my lord. Seems all you Japanese are fiercely tenacious. Very well, proceed. I will. It was the day. Interesting. And you say you don't know who actually issued the directive? Aye, that's right. All I can be sure of is that it was official. But if it was from the prosecutor's office, that narrows down who could have issued it straight away. And it wasn't me. I cannot even say with certainty that it did originate from the prosecutor's office. What? There's no telling where it started. There's a fair chance it came from higher up the ladder. Basically, I cannot give you any indication of who was behind it. You can't be serious. All I can say for sure is that the order must have come from somebody in authority, I suppose. The likes of us on the ground, as it were, didn't bother with such idle speculation. We just get the job done. I assigned the... So, Mr. Vigil, you didn't know anything about it at all? That's right. My only role in the scheme was as a scapegoat. That's right, isn't it, Governor? Some poor beggar had to take the rap for it. Poor dude, what the fuck? Alright, then who else did know about the plan? I've not the first idea, laddie. My part in the whole business was basically just dealing with the aftermath. But I wouldn't be surprised if there were other folk in the prison service who'd been given similar orders. So you don't know who else was involved? Aye, that's right. Oh, I can tell ya. is that the night it actually happened, the person at the reins was Dr. Stevens.
Sith? Why did I have to get caught up in such a terrible business?
Oh, poor thing! Did you not notice anything unusual happen in the lead up to the night?
Everything was unusual. Exception after exception. After all, it was the professor. The man had terrorized the country as never before with his crimes. In order to hide his identity, he was forced to wear an iron mask over his head.
Hideous treatment. The fellow was surprisingly docile for someone who had taken the lives of 5 of the country's nobles.
Being the chief warder, I was the only person permitted to approach his cell. I can still hardly believe that I was duped by my own country.
I believe you jumped from the window of the governor's office when the jailbreak was blamed on you, didn't you? Lost Vigil, I cannot apologise enough.
No, Governor, I don't believe you can. It won't change what's happened.
What else can you tell us about the situation, Governor Caden? I didn't ken if there were some negotiations. You've already acknowledged that orders came from the prosecutor's office to arrange for the man's escape. Must have been some sort of negotiation. It's the only explanation. Aye, well, be that as may, I didn't ken nothing about that. The witness stand is no place for telling what you don't know for sure. I ken that much I do. And I presume you also know this. Not telling what you do know is a criminal offence. Ooh. So you were just following orders, is that it? I'm afraid that won't absolve you of guilt here. The man was still killed illegally, even if he was a condemned criminal. You may very well be found complicit in murder, Governor. So that's what's it to be, is it? So that's what's it's to be, is it? Even with the threat of conviction, you won't break your silence. All I did was carry out my duty. Did you carry out the plan in its entirety? Aye, I did everything I could at the time. As you know, Genshin Asogi was shot dead in Lowgate Cemetery after their escape. Tell me, was that part of the plan too? The instructions were to do with getting the jock out of the jail and nothing more. I cannot tell you anything about what happened after that. Only, personally, I believe his death was the last part of the plan. I'm guessing it's not.
Excuse me.
Mr. Vigil, is something wrong? Yes, sir! What can I do for you, sir? He's saluting now. What is it, some sort of Barclay convention? What Governor Caden was saying seemed to upset you. Did it bring something to mind, perhaps?
For the last 10 years, I've completely blotted out the memories of that time from my mind. I was betrayed by my superiors, in the name of my country.
Just as my father was betrayed, it seems.
You see, thinking back now, I really can't imagine that the shooting of Mr. Asogi in the cemetery was ever part of the plan.
What makes you think that?
Well, it just doesn't make sense, does it? make the man admit to crimes he didn't commit with the promise of a jailbreak, only to kill him in the end. It's treachery of the worst kind. But the point is, if the intention was always to betray him, why would there be any need for all the chicaneries of an escape?
Yes, that's quite true. If whoever negotiated with the Sogi never intended to keep his or her end of the bargain, it would have been far simpler just to let the man be executed in prison as dictated by his sentence. What happened in that vast chamber of secrets that is Barclay, behind the high prison walls? Suppose nobody knows what really went on in the execution room now. Yes, it's an unsettling mystery, certainly. Truth be told, there is a wee matter that's never quite made sense to me. If you believe there was some kind of negotiation behind the jailbreak between a Sogi and a body at the top, it doesn't quite add up, does it? Governor Caden, I must insist that you explain these doubts that you have by amending your formal testimony. Gods! Aye, go on then. Seems to me that the Japanese fellow didn't have nothing to bargain with. Admitting to the crimes. That was what he had to bargain with, surely. I kinda see that myself. After all, did the prosecution have conclusive evidence against the Kali, eh? This, you mean, discovered during the final victim's autopsy. There's every possibility this conclusive evidence was fabricated by Scotland Yard and the prosecutor's office. Possibilities are all very well, but nothing has been proven. You can hollow about misconduct in the trial 10 years ago all you like. But if you can't establish that it happened with hard evidence, no one's going to listen. Aye, that's right. So what I'm saying is, the convict had nothing he could use for any kind of bargaining at all. The witness makes an astute point. Logically, it would seem no negotiation could have taken place. And yet the plan to break the man out of prison was definitely put into practice. So he must have been armed with something that gave him an angle to negotiate. So Asogi-san agreed to confess to the crimes because he was assured he'd be broken out of the prison later. I really don't think that Kazuma-sama's father would have engaged in such negotiations. Perhaps something compelled him to agree. What a terrible thing. Using the law to legitimize such underhand dealings with a desperate man! Only to double-cross him in the end! It's quite the opposite of justice! I can't help feeling something about this apparent negotiation that doesn't quite add up. Something doesn't quite add up, Mr. Naruhodo. No, it doesn't. But I can't quite put my finger on what yet. In that case, we must keep digging until we identify the problem. Alright, so looks like we have to present something. Not on that. It was the day. I mean, we can't disprove that. Behind the scenes. I didn't ken if there was some. He said something about a final weapon, didn't he? Or a literal weapon. Okay, no. Yeah, apparently Mr. Sogi described it as the only weapon I have left. I don't know how, but let's find out. Confessing under oath to murders he didn't commit on a verbal assurance of later being broken out of prison. Genshin Asogi was taking an incredibly risky gamble. Very true. There was nothing to stop the British breaking their word and executing him behind closed doors anyway. Under normal circumstances, no man would stake his life on a gentleman's agreement like that. Which means that Mr. Sorgi must have had a trump card. Something that guaranteed he wouldn't be betrayed. Some kind of weapon! Heavens! The fella couldn't have possibly had anything like that! But you know that he did, Governor. The Sorgi papers. The name given to the last will and testament of Genshin Sorgi. It turns out that Mr. Sorgi was hiding his will in his cell at Barclay. Chief Warder Vigil called him with it one day. We're just snitching on him now. You squealed, didn't you, you weird rat? Did I not tell you to keep that a secret? You can't touch me now. Ah! When Mr. Vigil caught sight of that will through the bars of the convict cell, Mr. Sorgi pleaded with the warder.
Alright then, what's on that paper?
Lost will and testament. This will is the only weapon I have left now. A weapon! And after the convict had been killed following the elaborate pretense of the jailbreak, that document mysteriously disappeared, didn't it?
Yes, the prison warders searched through the belongings in the cell, but that will was just nowhere to be found.
As I understand it, an exhaustive search was made for the document, which became known as the Sorgi Papers. Governor Caden, I believe you ordered your prison staff to find her at all costs, didn't you? Would I be right in saying that you knew? You knew that the so-called Sorgi Papers had the potential to make great waves somehow. Jeans, what the blazes are you blithering about? The will was found, right and proper. It's the fairly cell where I said it would be.
But how can it be? Where in a cell? Who searched the place from top to bottom?
Well, you didn't do a proper job here, you pilly-welly galoo.
You can't criticize me now.
I showed it to you for Illinois, young lawyer. Yes, you did. I have the document here. It's written in Japanese and reads, The Last Will and Testament of Genshin Sorgi. Which means everything is as it should be. Not quite, my lord. You see, there's an undeniable inconsistency here. What? What inconsistency? Mr. Sorgi described this document as the only weapon he had left. And yet, this will contains nothing of significance at all. Nothing that would have given the convict any leverage. Yeah, what's going on here? Are you suggesting, my learned friend, that the last will and testament stored at Barclay Prison all these years is actually a fake? As has clearly been demonstrated already, what went on at Barclay Prison was far from above board. That last vilification by the defense was an affront to the entire British legal system. This absurd notion of a weapon is something for which we have only the former chief's word. The man could quite easily be lying, or at the very least sorely mistaken.
No, I definitely heard him say that, I swear!
Clearly we need to get to the bottom of this. We need to know exactly what happened with these so-called Sorgi Papers. A waste of time! If the will was fake, where is the real document? Mr. Vigil was stabbed in the back by the judiciary 10 years ago. He lost everything, very nearly his own life. And now you're going to do it again. You're ready to brand him a liar and turn your back on him without even letting him defend himself. It's clear that Barclay Prison is hiding something. It's clear that the jailbreak was masterminded by somebody in the prosecutor's office. It's clear that some illicit negotiations took place. Is your lordship going to gloss over these obvious... What did you say? What? Testify! Again! What? Testify! Testify! It would seem that a vocal few here are utterly blind to the truth. Very well then. Let the witness testify again. Tell the court precisely what you think you saw of the convict's last will and testament.
Yes, sir, Lord. As the warder responsible for condemned convicts, I attended to Mr. Sogi and kept watch over his cell. The night after he was found guilty in court, there was something with that will in his cell. We turned the cell inside out looking for it after the execution, but to no avail.
I only found out about the Sogi papers where the detective came telling me to impound them. The document was found in the folds of the fairless robe that was left in his cell. A kimono, I think it's called.
And his kimono? That's a lie! We searched every inch of the man's cell. We looked for all his clothes. It can't be true.
Well, you're not satisfied with me calling me a liar once there, you little waffinger.
There's nothing you can do about it now. You don't have any hold over me anymore. Other than the hold you like to take on my cravat, of course. Is that what you're going to do, is it? Are you going to give me a good shake again? Or are you too scared?
Ah! Little and large. What a double act. We complied with Asogi's will as far as was possible. All of his personal effects were delivered to his family home in Japan. As a courtesy to the homeland of the most notorious killer of our country has ever seen. We were much obliged. I can confirm that all my father's belongings arrived safely. Hey, you cannot deny that the handwriting is that of your old man, eh? Yes, there's no mistaking that it's my father's brushwork. Really? This last will and testament was the man's last weapon, was it? I think we can safely assume that the convict was merely prattling, knowing that his end was nigh. So, counsel for the defense, your cross-examination. Yes, my lord.
Is the warder responsible?
Hold it!
So would that mean that you conversed with Mr. Asogi? Yes, certainly. There was precious little time before his execution was due. He was remarkably calm considering his days were very much numbered. In all honesty, it really didn't strike one as a man capable of mass murder.
Yet he confessed in full to the crimes.
I know, that's why I felt compelled to ask him one day. I can still recall his reply. Guilty of the unforgivable crime of ending another human's life, yes. He was so tranquil and intelligent. It put me in the mind of an Eastern holy man.
What about the will you saw him with? What can you tell us about that?
It was the beginning of all the drama. I remember it very well. Yes. Right.
Hold it!
Do tell us. And he pleaded with you not to report him, did he?
Yes, that's right.
And like the vampire, yeah, you didn't tell me. A blatant breach of trust that was.
You'd see that the man had a noble spirit. I found myself wanting to treat him accordingly. But according to what you told us 2 days ago, the convict had been strictly forbidden from having any writing materials whatsoever. Yes, you're quite right. So, when exactly was the will penned? That was before the man was remanded in Barclay, obviously. Yes, at the prosecutor's office under supervision of the relevant authorities. I personally instructed Asogi to make a will for the benefit of his family and his homeland. In that case, why was it found in his cell? What do you mean by that? Oh, if it was penned at the prosecutor's office, you would have expected that it would remain there for safekeeping, surely? Ah! It's curious. It doesn't seem to be any obvious explanation for why it was subsequently found in the convict's cell. Oh, well, the defense makes an astute point. Well, Governor? A prison governor cannot be expected to ken the inner workings of the prosecutor's office now. In that case, Lord Strongheart, perhaps you can shed some light on the matter. I'm unable to offer an explanation here and now. I would have to consult with the notary responsible for the will at the time. The fact that my father's will was discovered in his cell is clearly inconsistent with what was expected. I want to know why. Another inexplicable mystery, then. Well, the thing is about that will. We turned the cell inside out looking for it after the execution, but to no avail.
Hold it!
It was the governor who ordered the search for the will, as I understand it. Is that right? Yes, and when I reported back that we couldn't find it, he grabbed me by the cravat and yelled, "Get up!" and disappeared completely in my face!
Aye, well, it's due to the governor to keep everybody working as hard as they should.
I think the governor needs a wee taste of his own medicine, Mr. Nuttlehuddle.
The point is, it was clearly considered a very important document, wasn't it? But it proved impossible to find.
That's right. And before I knew it, it was in the morning paper. Blood-curdling article. The executed mass murderer risen from the dead.
You mean? The article was based on Mr. Jobber's experience.
Yes, that was it. The day after I read that news, I was summoned to the governor's office. And that's when that awful accusation was made.
That you'd aided Genshin Asogi to escape from the prison, resulting in your immediate dismissal.
I'm afraid I really don't remember anything after that.
As the governor of the prison, I had no choice. I couldn't have done anything else. I only found out about the Asogi papers when a directive came telling me to impound them. And that directive came from the same source as the one instructing you about the jailbreak. Aye, from the top levels of the prosecutor's office. What name was on it? I didn't ken afore, and I didn't ken now. All I can tell you is that my orders were to do everything in my power to find that document. The directive said it had to be somewhere inside the fella's cell. Document? Was that the wording? Document, not will. Aye, that's what I said.
Am I clutching at straws here? I just wonder if it really was Genshin Asogi's lost will and testament that the sender of that directive was after.
Continue with your testimony then, witness.
In Mr. Sogi's kimono. Aye, the one he brought with him when he was locked up. Yes, he was permitted to have his personal effects with him during his incarceration, I understand. That's right. He was granted as much freedom as possible during the few days before his execution. Indeed, he had a number of items of personal significance, I remember. I was very reluctant to part with them. Some books, the kimono, his sword. His sword? Karuma, the famous sword of the Sogi clan. It bears the soul of my family. I don't doubt it, but I wasn't really getting at that. Forget being the soul of the clan, could the man have a more obvious weapon? Have some respect, Yunosuke! Respectful silence! The warders carry firearms at all times, and the inmates have shackles around their ankles. They couldn't have hurt anybody with that thing. Still, he was allowed a sword, but no writing materials. Aye. He wrote that before he came to stay with us at Barclay, you see. Dr. Mikotoba was asked to bring the necessary Japanese writing implements to the prosecutor's office. A Suzuri inkstone, black sumi ink, and some Hansi rice paper, no doubt. I was present when he wrote it, but I'm sorry to say, the letters just look like a squirming mass of jet black earthworms to me.
Excuse me.
Are you feeling faint, Mr. Vigil? Mr. Vigil! Sir! Scarlet, sir! What? Oh, I'm terribly sorry. I didn't mean to blurt it out like that. Explaining it more, explaining would be helpful. Something about the testimony we just heard. Have you recalled something of importance? Something of importance? Possibly not. I'm unable to tell which way he's leaning, I'm afraid. My lord, the defense asks that Mr. Vigil be permitted to supplement his testimony with this possibly or possibly not important detail. Permission granted. Go ahead, Mr. Vigil. Yes! Scarlet! As I remember it, the document was written in scarlet ink, but perhaps I'm mistaken. Scarlet ink.
Hold it!
Scarlet, you say? Well, yes. I mean, I only caught sight of it for a brief moment, of course. But even by the dim light in the cell, I remember thinking it was an unusual colour. At the very least, I'm quite sure it wasn't black. Witness! Is that really what you saw? Sir! Is something wrong, Lord Strongheart? I apologize. Continue. What do you make of that, Mr. Nutholder? Lord Strongheart to be so visibly shaken in that way. Oh, didn't I ever? You can plainly see the writing here. It is as black as the Earl of Earl's waistcoat. Well, yes, you're right. Mr. Vigil, I'd like to confirm one point with you. Did you actually see the content of the document that Mr. Sogi was holding that night? No, I mean, there was no time. As soon as he noticed me, that he hid it behind his back. It was definitely a will, was it? Yes, it was. That's what Mr. Sogi told me. The court needn't waste no further time on this matter. We have the will in question in our possession. There's nothing more to add. A will written in scarlet ink. Did Mr. Vigil really see Cosmo's father holding, I wonder? If you have an inkling, Mr. Naruhodo, you must present it to the court at once! That testimony doesn't give much away. So this will really was penned by Cosmo-sama's father. I wonder what he could possibly have meant when he described it as a weapon. Starting to sound very much like Mr. Asogi actually had nothing. But the plan to break him out of jail went ahead, which means he must have had some bargaining power. He must have been hiding something. It's the only explanation that makes sense. It's starting to sound like Mr. Asogi actually might have something. Which is it, Mr. Naruhodo? I'm not sure, but I feel as though I'm on the brink of understanding all this. Let's listen to all the information again and see what more we can learn. We can't overlook even the smallest detail. Absolutely! Scarlet ink. But we're not contradicting it, but perhaps. That was weird. Where is it? Is it? No, that's Gregson. What does it say here? Recent scarlet ink stains visible on the little and ring are not blood. Scarlet coloured writing is what you said you thought you saw, Mr. Vigil. And I believe that's exactly what you did see. Here it is again! You no evidence to say that! Have a look at this report. My brother's autopsy report. Yes, and there's something in here that's bothered me since I first read it. It states that scarlet coloured ink stains were noted on the fingers of the victim's right hand. Yes, so it does. Scarlet ink. Now, I'm not familiar with the habits of the British aristocracy, I freely admit. But I would hazard a guess that they don't all go around with ink stains on their fingertips, do they? Your wit is not appreciated. My brother was a well-bred and fastidious man. Should ink have sullied his fingertips, he would have cleaned them immediately. What is your point, counsel? My point is this. Whatever Lord Clint von Zeeks was writing in that unusually coloured ink, it must have been directly before his death. Because he died before he had the opportunity to clean his hand. What? I remember something troubled me at the time. At the scene, the lid on my brother's inkwell was open. But Clint was punctilious about such things. It seemed unusual. No document penned in the colour of the ink that was in the inkwell was ever found. So the document had disappeared. Are you suggesting that the document my father had in his hand that night in his cell was the same document that Lord Clint von Zeeks was writing moments before his death? Then it was... Mr. Vigil's testimony is to be believed. It can only mean that, yes. Mr. Vigil! Sir! When you spotted Mr. Asogi with the document in his cell, his precise words were as follows, were they not? Alright then, what's on that paper? A last will and testament. This will is the only weapon I have left now. A lost will and testament. Ah! If the conversation really did go as Mr. Vigil says, then what we now know completely changes the meaning of what Mr. Asogi said. You really think Mr. Vigil did indeed see the convict with a will, but it wasn't that of Genshin Asogi.
It was the last will and testament of Lord Clint von Zeeks! No! What?!
Objection!
This is madness! My brother's last will and testament! That would mean he had chosen to die! That is what it would mean, yes. No! Impossible! That's utterly out of the question! Von Zeeks. Clint was pursuing the professor. It consumed him day and night! Whatever happened, he would have never abandoned his investigation before his conclusion. Never! He wouldn't rest until the job was done. Until the killer was caught! The idea that he would willingly accept his own death! It's obscene! And yet we can be sure that he was writing his will moments before his death! That Genshin Asogi came to be in possession of that document. So what could the will possibly have contained? Clearly something that wouldn't be made public under any circumstances whatsoever. Because armed with that document, my father was able to negotiate with the judiciary for his life. It was something so damning that it prompted the powers that be to enact that daring jailbreak plot. Yes, there can be no question that it contained the information of the utmost secrecy. Information of the utmost secrecy. No, it couldn't be. I've heard more than enough! Pursuing this notion of a phantom nobody can attest to having seen serves absolutely no purpose! No, my lord, that's unacceptable! What did you say, counsel? The last will and testament that Genshin Asogi had in his possession was that of Lord Clint von Zeeks. All the testimony and evidence presented to the court has logically led us to that as a possibility. We have a duty to pursue the line of reasoning to its conclusion. But with no possible means of knowing the contents of the document, there is no line of reasoning to pursue. Oh fuck, here it comes. A reason why Lord Clint von Zeeks, a man of high noble standing, would have chosen death. Information so secret, people in the judiciary would be willing to negotiate the jailbreak of a condemned killer. The only explanation that fits those facts is an unthinkable truth that turns absolutely everything on its head. But it's just too hideous. Just another hold on. However difficult the situation might become, you work with your client in pursuit of the truth. That's what you resolved to do when you entered the courtroom this morning, if I'm not mistaken. Mr. Subtle. So hold your head high and keep soldiering on. Yes, you're right. 10 years ago, in his final moments, Lord Clint von Zeeks left behind a will. A will that Genshin Asogi was able to use as a weapon to negotiate his escape from prison. In all probability, the details in the will were related to the Professor case. The defense's last statement is mere conjecture. What are you getting at, man? You're not scared? As soon as these words come out of my mouth, there's no going back. I believe that the last will and testament of Lord Clint von Zeeks was in fact... Alright. I'm gonna try all the options. I do know the... Oh fuck, how do I do this? Yes, I'm going to get penalized, but I'm going to go through these one by one. perhaps a report? It seems to me that was probably some kind of report. Some kind of... well, remember that Lord Clint von Zeeks was a well-bred and fastidious man. Knowing the end was near, he probably wanted to tie up the loose ends of all his outstanding business. Brother had no outstanding business. Clint would have had a full account written on the instant there was even a hint of something to report. He must have worn out a lot of pens. In any case, a business report would have never been penned in Scarlet Ink Council. I forgot to consider the ink color. It's apparent that the defense's explanation has no real substance. This line of inquiry is dead. Come on, Yunosuke. I know you. You've seen to the heart of this, haven't you? The reason why would have chosen death. Information so secret. I'm just gonna skip this. I'll keep soldiering on. Through all these wrong answers. Obviously, it must have been an accusation. An accusation. Yes, revealing the true identity of the professor. Which would explain why Asogi took it, since it was he who was implicated by the document. No, in that case, the will wouldn't have given Mr. Asogi any bargaining power at all. Then you're suggesting that accusation was against some other person. No, if that were the case, the two men surely would have collaborated to pursue the culprit together. Then your whole argument falls down! Can I object to the penalty too? It's apparent that the defense's explanation has no real substance. Alright, I'm sorry. I really wanted to see all the wrong options. Alright, we're serious now. Oh, fuck. Oh my gosh. Yes. What exactly did you say? The only explanation that fits those facts is an unthinkable truth that turns absolutely everything on its head. The reason why the modus operandi of the last victim didn't match the other four. The reason why evidence was fabricated. Jailbreak. You can do this, Mr. Naruhodo. I believe that what Lord Clint von Zeeks actually penned that day was a confession. Confession regarding the mass murderer known as the Professor and his true identity.
Objection!
No! Counsel! What are you saying? Do you even realize? A confession about the true identity of the Professor. That would mean... Oh no. Lord von Zeeks, I appreciate this must be hard to take in. But it's the only explanation that fits. The killer that terrorized London a decade ago became known as the Professor. The man believed to have murdered 5 members of the aristocracy wasn't Genshin Asogi at all. You can't be suggesting! It was in fact the man believed to have been the 5th victim. Lord Clint von Zieks himself! Oh, shit. It's finally open, is it? Pandora's box. The great von Zieks family. They've been thoroughbreds of the British judiciary for years. Clint von Zieks, he was a paragon of justice. He was actually a mass murderer, a perpetrator of atrocities of the vilest nature. The public never found out. My brother. This is too awful. Poor Lord von Zieks. I wonder though, did he never suspect? Is there not a order? Baroque von Zieks is a brilliant prosecutor. Is it conceivable that he didn't realize what his older brother really was? Order! Lord von Zieks. The professor made use of an enormous hound as his murder weapon. Tell me, did your brother own a dog? Yes, he did. Balmung. He was a well-known hunting dog. People called him a giant. I don't believe this. My brother would go hunting in the forest of the grounds behind the house. He always took Balmung. After Clint's death, the creature passed away too. Almost as if he were following his master. He was a magnificent hunting dog, worthy of the jewel-studded collar around his neck. A jewel-studded collar! That's right. Though sadly, some years ago now, it was stolen by a thief who broke into the house one night. A jewel-studded collar, stolen by a thief. It so happens that myself and my colleagues have come across such a collar during our time in London. How could you? There was an old emblem attached to the collar too, made of pure gold. It was topped with a small crown and bore an ornate capital letter B. What? An emblem bearing the initial B! You know it then, do you? It's the insignia of the Baskerville family. The Hound of the Baskervilles! Why is that name coming up now? Baskerville is the family name of my late brother's widow. That pure gold emblem was an heirloom, which Clint acquired upon their marriage. There can be no doubt then, the collar you've described was Balmung's. The family insignia of Lord Clint von Zieks' widow. There was a considerable amount of blood on the collar when we saw it. Since we know the dog was used for hunting, it could have been from its quarry, of course. But it could equally have been from human prey. So it's true. Clint von Zieks really was... Impossible! These Japanese are making it up! So in fact, the person responsible for these murders of royals and nobles was a noble himself. that threatened to be an enormous scandal that would irrevocably destabilize British society. My father knew that and was using it to negotiate his way out of the unjust charges brought against him. But at the very last hour, those he bargained with betrayed him, slaying him mercilessly on foreign soil. Well, can you deny it, Lord Strongheart? "10 years have passed. Still now, the 6 million inhabitants of our great capital rest easy believing that justice was done. That though his anonymity remains, the diabolical murderer was caught and executed." Very well then. You may have the truth. Tell me then! Tell me what Clint really was! Lord Clint von Zieks was too pure of heart. When he became a prosecutor and went in pursuit of the black root of crime, he drove himself into a corner. He came to the uncomfortable realization that to fight the most fiendish of criminals requires one to become even more fiendish oneself. Clint! The 19th century was a truly miraculous 100 years for Great Britain, and indeed the whole world. New industry, new technology, and with the birth of the Metropolitan Police Service, new law and order. But these dazzling new developments meant even deeper shadows were cast on society. Water sullied by factories, air thick with noxious fumes and crime, growing daily to fill the darkness. Lord Clint von Zieks made it his mission to combat that darkness. But as time went on, it slowly ate at his soul until eventually he was consumed. It's ironic, really, and somewhat surprising, that the truth has once again been unearthed by a Japanese. Once again, what do you mean? 10 years ago, your father, Genshin Asogi, turned up at my office one night. The professor? Yes, beyond all shadow of doubt, you must issue a warrant to search his home at once! Don't be absurd. The man comes from one of our country's most illustrious families. He's a paragon of justice here in the capital. Yes, that's the point! That's why none of you British can see it! He's using his noble status as a diversion while he commits these atrocious crimes behind the scenes! Do you have evidence? Nothing definitive as yet. But he keeps an enormous savage hound on the estate. We need the full support of the judiciary for this. We're up against a member of the aristocracy. So a large family estate has a fierce guard dog. You should know that's commonplace here in Britain. I'm sorry, but I can't possibly put Scotland Yard onto this based on a tenuous accusation of a visiting student. So I turned down Asogi's plea, and as a result, he took it upon himself to visit the von Zieks mansion on his own. I can only imagine now what happened between the two men. Though we know the outcome, of course. Lord Clint von Zeeks perished. I don't believe this.
So, in actual fact, Cosmo's son, his father did.
He made the Lord von Zeeks meet the same fate. He put a permanent end to the professor killings by taking the drastic measure of ending the perpetrator's life. As soon as I heard, I hurried to the mansion. When I arrived, it was easy to grasp what had happened. What about the will? Sogi must have already taken it. Nothing of that nature was found at the scene. We had no idea of the existence of such a document at that time. I was the only person who knew the true identity of the professor. You rotten snake! So, I resolved to keep it a secret, and to guard the secret to the bitter end. So you're admitting to it? That you were behind it all? It was you then, who pinned the crimes on my father? I did what needed to be done in order to protect the law and order of the British Empire. Even if that meant employing an unforgivable ruse. Then it was you who erased this fabricated evidence! I ordered that detective to take care of it, whilst keeping the truth from him, naturally. Gregson. Obviously, he opposed me at first. Are you off your rocker? We gotta do something like that! There's no question that it was Osoki who murdered Lord von Zeeks. The house staff have made statements that they saw the man running from the mansion that night. Yes, well, no doubt it was that Japanese fellow. But we haven't got a shred of conclusive evidence against the man. And worse than that, he doesn't keep a dog, so we're short of a murder weapon to boot. And we're short on time, Gregson. We must put a stop to this man's rampage, for the good of the country. So we'll use whatever means necessary. Do I make myself clear, detective? Blimey. So that night 10 years ago, I was attacked by those thugs in the back streets. Genshin's ring was taken. That was him, wasn't it? It was Gregson and some hired help. Then the detective handed the stolen ring to Dr. Wilson, who feigned its discovery from the victim's stomach during their autopsy. And then, in the light of the decisive evidence, Mr. Asogi was found guilty of the charges brought against him. However, behind the scenes, he had actually already struck a deal with his accusers, in which he agreed to silently accept the charges. I just don't believe that part. As far as I knew the man, my father despised such underhand dealings. It was extremely easy to make him comply. You see, he had one crippling weakness. What weakness? Isn't it obvious? You, Kazuma Sogi. Me? Perhaps you have no desire to return to your homeland, Asogi. What? Though I hear you have a 14-year-old son.
Agree to cooperate and accept your guilt without contention, and you will see Japan and your son again.
You scoundrel!
Whether you choose wisely or not, it will be a closed trial by order of Her Majesty. So whatever rash claims you might make in court, we'll have no trouble in stifling them. There's only one outcome for you, Sogi. The gallows. Don't forget that I still have a weapon at my disposal. A document revealing a truth that I know you're desperate to keep hidden. Yes, it hadn't escaped my mind, which is the only reason I'm willing to bargain with you. I only want to protect this country's law and order. You understand? So, what's it to be, Asogi? Cosmo. He did it for me. And as I told him at the time, my motive was simply to protect Britain from the damage the truth would do. To protect this country's law and order at any cost.
Objection!
Never dared let myself even consider this possibility until now. But in the light of all this treachery, I have to ask. The mastermind behind the Reaper of the Bailey. Was it you, Lord Mel Strongheart?
A rather brilliant idea, wouldn't you say, Lord Baroque von Zeeks? But the spirit of your late brother, that paragon of justice, should return to reap justice for his sibling. Could there be a more appetizing tale for London's masses, I ask you?
What brazen! I knew that you'd play the part to perfection. But your role really wasn't that of some embodiment of death. No, you were London's guardian angel. An angel with bloody hands? I think not. Those who had cooperated with me already were only too happy to participate in my plan. Inspector Gregson, Dr. Wilson. My minions worked tirelessly to ensure that the finger of guilt could never come to rest on you. It's all thanks to them that you were exalted as the demigod the Reaper became. But Dr. Wilson left Britain 4 years ago when he was invited to work in Japan. That's right. So I had to employ the services of this young protege after that. Dr. Courtney Sith. Sith. So what with the execution of the Professor and the subsequent reign of the Reaper of the Bailey? I've successfully safeguarded law and order in our mighty capital for the past decade. That is everything. My lords, ladies and gentlemen, I do hereby confess it was I who sired the concept of the Reaper. However, let me say in my defense, no. It was all for the preservation of law and order across the entire empire. But Strongheart did it. An unforgivable collection of crimes. Still, all those who died at the Reaper's hand were rotten to the core anyway. It was all in the aid of keeping London safe. There is no one left now who can reveal the precise truth of what happened 10 years ago. Therefore, this trial can go no further. Now, I would like to entreat all those present. Beyond these four walls, nobody need know the truth. Even Her Majesty must be protected from this. I trust you all appreciate the importance of my request. It is, of course, for the good of the country. Fuck no! Can he do this? Can the trial really end now? I have one last question. For the accused, Lord Von Zeeks. What? Of course, I know that you're a highly accomplished prosecutor. So I find it hard to believe that you didn't have any doubts at all. You never suspected your older brother. Yes, the same thought occurred to me. It was only once, but yes, I couldn't say that I never had my doubts. Once, my brother's sense of justice was extremely strong. Perhaps too strong, I observed. At that time, there were members of the aristocracy who were bleeding the country dry for their own gain. Since they were nobles, they were untouchable. For my brother, it was a source of great turmoil. And coincidentally, at the same time, the professor began his terrifying reign. During the time of the professor killings, my brother did not appear to be himself. And that made you suspect? Yes. But it was only once. Not more. Only once. Really? Clint wasn't the culprit. That was my conclusion at the time. I still believe that now. Do you have any evidence to support that idea? The third victim was the Lord Chief Justice at the time. It was he who had recognized my brother's potential and trained him as a prosecutor. No matter what the circumstances, it's unthinkable that my brother could have killed his friend and mentor! That will do! Neither Clint Von Zeeks nor Genshin Asogi still walk this earth. However much we debate this matter now, we cannot hope to reach a conclusion. But there are only two extant pieces of evidence from the time. The woebegone ring that acted as the incriminating evidence to condemn Genshin Asogi. Yeah, acting. And the 3-page last will and testament penned in black ink and left by the man. The wretched truth of what happened is exactly as I've explained. Later today, I will present myself at the Ministry of Justice for what sanction is deemed appropriate. That is all. Court is adjourned. Objection! Thank you, Kazuma. Me? If it wasn't for you, I wouldn't have made this 11th hour discovery. What discovery? My lord, I'm afraid I must insist the trial continues. I beg your pardon? As the court has been reminded today already, we must stop at nothing to uncover the whole truth. And to that end, one particular statement made by somebody in this courtroom moments ago revealed a very subtle contradiction What contradiction? All I did was ask the accused one simple question. Well, it began with Lord Von Zieks and his recollection about his brother. But Lord Strongheart didn't permit the defendant to speak at length. I merely pointed out that we can draw no further useful conclusions here. So where on earth is the contradiction? One of them definitely just said something contradictory. It's time to identify who. It was Lord Von Zieks, I'm sure of it. Something about what he just said was just a little jarring. Come on, Yunosuke. Go over it again. Find it. Alright, let's see. Clint wasn't the culprit. That was my conclusion at the time. The third victim was the Lord Chief Justice at the time. It was he who had recognized my brother's potential and trained him as a prosecutor. Okay, I don't think we can contest this, no. No matter what the circumstances, it's unthinkable that my brother could have killed... I mean, he did, by the looks of it. Lord Von Zieks, would you care to explain? What exactly am I supposed to make of those pitiful Nipponese eyes? When you were recounting the information about your brother and the third victim just now, something you said was inconsistent with a certain piece of evidence we have. This is very much wrong. Even though the inconsistency arose from words out of the defendant's mouth, you have a duty here to pursue an explanation. You playing at? I fail to see the defense's intention here, but clearly the court cannot ignore this new development. What evidence is inconsistent? On second thought, I don't think we have anything, no. Shoot. Let's just... sorry about that. Dear me. Oh, this evidence makes it very clear indeed. There is no contradiction with either the defendant or myself, naturally. No, the contradiction here lies squarely with you, counsel. I had the distinct impression that permitting you to advocate for me was a mistake on my life. Don't you dare show your face again at my door once this trial is over. It's going to be very lonely around the Naruhodo dinner table in the future. Not as long as I'm alive, Mr. Naruhodo. I'm sure we need only think again to fix the situation. You're very lenient. Sato, yes, of course. Come through. We began. Okay, I'm pretty sure it's the same thing. Alright, I'll be serious. I'm sorry. I just really wanted to see the wrong answers because I didn't get to see them. It was Lord Strongheart. I'm sure of it. Something he said was slightly off. Oh, come on, Yunosuke. Think back over his words. Find the problem. Alright, what did he say? Neither Clint Von Zieks nor Genshin Asogi still walk this earth. However much we debate this matter now, we cannot hope to reach a conclusion. There are only two extant pieces of evidence from the time. The woebegone ring that acted as the incriminating evidence to condemn Genshin Asogi. And the 3-page last will and testament penned in black ink and left behind by the man. Now, you could argue 3-page last will. Oh, you're thinking about the Clint Von Zieks document. But he said all 3 of them were penned in black. What is going on here? What is this about a 3rd page penned in black ink? Lord Strongheart, would you care to explain? Explain what, counsel? Among the statements you made just a few moments ago, something you said was inconsistent with a certain piece of evidence we have. Inconsistent. And whilst an inconsistency remains, the defense has a right to pursue an explanation. Do you not get what? Let me warn you about the statements you are making, counsel. They may very well prove fatal. Yeah, no, I've already been kicked out by people. Don't visit me again. I'm sorry. Where is it? It's here. Alright, here's the real answer. This here is the will left behind by Mr. Asorgi. The 2-page will. What? Yet moments ago, your precise words were the 3-page last will and testament. Ah! Could it be that originally there was a 3rd page? For a moment, I thought perhaps you identified something worthwhile. But it's a mere trifle, I see. A trifle. Governor Caden! What can I do for you, sir? You were present when the Japanese man penned his last will and testament. I was there for sure. I remember the black wedding-like scrolls to this day. And I'm quite certain, my lord, it was the 3rd page at the time. What? Only the first 2 pages were the actual will, though. If I mind correctly, the 3rd was a message to his lad back in Japan. For legal purposes, we required only his will. We wouldn't have wanted any uncomfortable words about Britain to get back to Japan, eh? So it was decided that the 3rd page oughtn't to be sent.
Objection.
How dare you make that decision? I had a right to know what it said! To hear my father's final words to me! The courtroom is no place for sentimentality, counsel. As it happens, I have the 3rd page of the document with me now. My father's message! It will be given to you at the end of these proceedings. It'll be too late once the trial is over. We need to know what it says now! Even the slightest thing might give us a vital clue. My lord! The defense calls for Genshin Asogi's last words to his son to be read out loud before the court now! Your request is denied! The inevitably maudlin words can be of no consequence now.
Objection.
Prosecution agrees. The court should know the contents of the message. Every possible piece of evidence must be thoroughly examined. Very well then, Governor Caden. You will read the 3rd page of the document for all present to hear. Yes, sir. Only, I should point out, my lord, that can I actually read Werem language?
It's beautiful handwriting. Shame on you, Barry. If I could be of assistance here, I would be happy to translate the words into English for the court. Father! You're still here, are you, Dr. Mikotoba? Naturally, I consider myself a member of the judiciary, albeit a lowly one. But perhaps I should quietly withdraw after I've translated Genshin's message.
Your cooperation is much appreciated.
Cosmo, the truth is shrouded in darkness. A darkness only our clan's great sword can pierce. Mighty Karuma, twist thy head and watch them fall, all thy mortal foes. It's the end of the message, it would seem. A haiku poem.
Twist thy head. Father. What is Karuma? The name of the Soulgis clan's famous sword. A razor-sharp blade known to all, passed down for generations. It embodies the Japanese spirit. It's not known to me. It's the katana sword that was submitted as evidence earlier in these proceedings. The one worn by the prosecution counsel when he confronted Inspector Gregson. And the one I had on my person the entire time, before that. All these procrastinations are beginning to try my patience. Adjournment of this court is long overdue. As the presiding judge, I have been as accommodating as possible for the will of the courtroom. However, despite all that, no information has come to light. In pursuit of justice, Lord Clint Von Zees tragically lost all sense of morality. When he murdered his former mentor, clearly he was already devoid of his normal faculties.
Objection!
How dare you! I refuse to believe that on my brother! Too much time has passed. We cannot ever hope to know more than we do now. Especially since the alleged will that he penned in his final moments appears to have been lost forever. Ah! Lord Strongheart, you appear to be in something of a hurry to wrap things up. I wonder why. We've heard you state time and again during these proceedings that everything you did was in the interest of protecting British law and order. And I stand by that. Without the Reaper, we could never have achieved the reduction in crime the capital has seen. What about Inspector Gregson then? And Dr. Wilson? They were no criminals. You used them to achieve your ends, and then you had them killed! However you dress it up, there was nothing fair or just about that! Lord Strongheart, what exactly is it that you're hiding? Dr. Mikotoba, were you not to quietly withdraw after the translation of your former associate's will? In this courtroom, no argument carries weight unless it is supported by evidence. And it would seem that the defense has no more evidence to present. Well, I say we take an opportunity for once over. So, what exactly did this say? Cosmo, the truth is shrouded in darkness. A darkness only our clan's great sword can pierce. Mighty Karuma, twist thy head and watch them fall, all thy mortal foes. Mighty mortal, oh my gosh, I'm sorry. Something about the sword. Alright, well, let's have a look. Twist thy head. Mighty Karuma, twist thy head and watch them fall, all thy mortal foes. That's a proper way to use the sword, is it? Maybe I should try it. It hurts my neck, that's the trouble. Mr. Nuddlehuddle, if I might make a suggestion, I think perhaps it doesn't mean your head. I once studied the history and development of the katana some time ago. And as I'm sure you're probably aware, the sword's head is the part at the very end of the hilt. It's written as head in Japanese, but it's pronounced as kasira, I believe. Kasira? So Mr. Sogi's words really mean twist the butt of the hilt. Is it? You don't think... Twisted Karma! Ah! Look what's inside it. Is that a tightly wound sheet of parchment? Well, what's on this parchment? Red ink! Scarlet ink! It's written in scarlet ink! I penned this, my last will and testament, at the final moments before my inevitable and willing death. This is it, isn't it? Mr. Naruhodo, look at the signature! Clint von Zeeks. The date. 10 years ago on that fateful night. So for 10 years, it's been silently concealed inside Karama. And nobody knew. The last will and testament of Lord Clint von Zeeks. Oh. Oh my goodness. Look at this. This is unbelievable. Oh. Oh, I got you now. Oh, we can't read it. Oh well. Well. In which case, I hereby order all discourse of these proceedings to be struck from the record. Oh, no, you are not getting away with this, mate. Alright, come on. This is my last chance. This is not a huddle. I have to present some decisive evidence now, or it's all over. Can I? Alright, let's do it. Wait, my lord. As it happens, the defense does have evidence to present. Don't be absurd! There's nothing of relevance remaining from the time.
Objection.
It's high time that you realize something, my lord. This gentleman has an uncanny habit of producing evidence at the final hour that escaped everyone else's attention. Nonsense! Oh, I think not. What is it, Yunosuke? What do you have? I dare say, the final, decisive piece of evidence that will reveal the whole truth about this rotten tale. How can you... Decisive? Well, it would appear there's no escaping it now, my lord. Let it be so then! Present whatever you think you have! If you're capable. Alright.
Take that!
There's a single piece of evidence that can clarify what really happened 10 years ago. The last will and testament of Lord Clint von Zeeks! Ha! A wonderfully astute observation, I'm sure. But in case it had escaped your notice, the document was lost long ago. That's right, it was. Only, I have it right here. Discovered just moments ago. Impossible! That can't be! All it be, everything that's happened comes back to this will. This document is the key that will unlock the entire mystery. Ah! Oh, we got it now. My brother's lost will and testament. Where did you find that? It was rolled up inside this. Inside Karama. The ultimate weapon Genshin Asogi obtained has lain undisturbed in the hilt of this sword all these years. In a literal weapon. Just waiting for the right time to emerge and reveal the truth. The signature and seal certainly look official. God, it's true! It's my brother's handwriting. There can be no mistake! I forbid the contents of the document from being read out loud! Do you hear me? I strictly forbid it! You can't do that, my lord! The document could explain everything! That document could literally destroy the meaning of justice in this country! I demand that you hand it to me at once! Or if justice is just killing off people illegally, I think we might want to redefine that, sir. Why? Why are you trying to hide? Could it be that you already know what's written on this page? What are you implying? God is adjourned with immediate effect! Clear the courtroom!
Objection.
Woo! Do that, my lord, and you'll suffer a fatal blow as Lord Chief Justice. I beg your pardon. Forcibly ending a trial without good reason, and not any trial, a closed trial by order of Her Majesty the Queen. To defy the monarch's will is treason. Lord Clint Von Zinks really did pen a will that day. It's exactly as the young Japanese man said. Read it out loud now! We have a right to hear what's in that will. A right and a duty. Well, my lord. It would rather appear that as though proceedings aren't going to go quite as you hoped. You fools! Go ahead, Yunosuke. Read it! The prosecution gives its full support! Very well then. No, for God's sake! No! Yes! I pen this, my last will and testament, in the final moments before my inevitable and willing death. The hour is 11 p.m. and I sit at my writing desk in my office. My good friend Asogi stands at my shoulder. He has expressed his intent to invoke the dying ritual of the jewel, that I may depart this world with honor, an honor of which I am utterly undeserving. The Japanese are a truly merciful people. I, Clint Von Zieks, Lord of the Manor of the Von Zieks estate, hereby confess to the following. I am the killer who has come to be known in society as the Professor, guilty of 4 counts of murder. I will not here discuss the corruption rife among the aristocracy, which is to me, as one of them, so apparent. However, 6 months ago, I took the life of a member of the House of Lords at the heart of the depravity. A demon who habitually sacrificed the common man to further his own interests, abusing his position of power. The law is impotent against such vile avarice. Only a fellow demon can rid society of this menace. The demon was my quarry, upon whom I willingly set my great hound. Though I am a hunter of some experience, I am a poor felon, it seems. My guilt was at once recognized by another. I became subject to his extortion. He held over me the threat of exposing my wicked crime to my beloved wife and brother. Under that threat, I have done this man's bidding for months now, killing those he demanded I kill. As I watched my former mentor perish before my eyes, the jaws of the hound I commanded, I realized that I had lost the shred of decency within me and sunk to the level of a wild beast. There is no path back to the light, be it I or my dear friend Asogi who dies this night. I am eternally damned. To my extortioner, Mel Strongheart, may you feel the jaws of the beast at your throat every time you swallow. You're happy about it, are you? So now we know. Yes, Clint von Zeeks was a murderer. But somebody was directing him and naming his victims. His extortioner, Lord Mel Strongheart. It was you! Lord Strongheart, a moment ago, you claimed that what the court had just heard could destroy justice in this country. But you weren't trying to protect justice at all. All you were trying to do was conceal the secrets of your true nature and the countless lives you sacrificed up till now. It just didn't make sense to me that the third victim, the former Lord Chief Justice, was my brother's benefactor and a man of lofty principles. As I said, Clint had no possible reason to kill the man! But you did, didn't you, Lord Strongheart? To eliminate the man who stood between you and the office you'd set your sights on! So you used your own hunting dog, Lord Clint von Zeeks, to take him down! It had to be done. London's unsavory shadows are deep, and the arm of the law fails to reach their depths. Crime must be cut off at the roots, but the Lord Chief Justice at the time couldn't see that. He was weak! Lofty principles, you say? Tantamount to cowardice, if you ask me. Which is why I took his place. In order to fight crime he was allowing to spread like wildfire. By murdering the man! The Reaper, the Professor. The name makes no difference. As I've explained countless times already, it was all done for the furtherance of law and order in London. Are you going to legitimize the murder of my father now too? Ah, Genshin Asogi. Well, that was unfortunate. I had fully intended to send him back to Japan as we'd agreed. I don't believe you! It was you, wasn't it? You killed him! No, it wasn't me who took your father's life. Then who? On the nights following his mock execution, I went to Lowgate Cemetery at 3 in the morning with Jigoku. Jigoku! There had to be a collaborator on the Japanese side to manage Asogi's treatment after his repatriation. Jigoku had fierce ambition. It made him easy to manipulate. 10 years ago, after he stood trial for the destruction of the witness stand, I had words with him. When I told him the position of Minister of Foreign Affairs could be his, he couldn't agree fast enough. Seishiro, you fool. As you know, Asogi escaped the prison in a closed casket and was subsequently interred. We intended to dig him out of his grave before he ran out of air. But sadly, all did not go to plan. There was an unexpected visitor to the cemetery with his own ideas about digging up graves. A man who witnessed what nobody was supposed to see. Enoch Drabble. Of course, I knew grave robbers frequented London's cemeteries. That grave on that particular night. Plus, if people find out the convict wasn't really executed, the scandal would rock the very foundations of the empire! Then what do we do? Shoot him, Mr. Jigoku! Shoot Osogi at once! He can't live now that this has happened. He has to go! What are you talking about? You had an agreement! You promised him he could return to Japan! Everything has changed now. If the truth got out because of this, both of us would be finished forever! Come on, Jigoku! Do it! Pull the trigger! Shoot! Jigoku shot Asogi from the shadows. The grave robber was so close, the blood sprayed over his coat. He fled as fast as his legs would carry him. Then Jigoku and I put Asogi's body back in the grave from which he just emerged. When I later learnt of the waxwork modeler's presence at the scene as well, I made her swear to two things. Never to remove the professor's mask. Never to speak of the events of that night. Until case 3 happened. With that, the secret was buried, along with Asogi's corpse. So, now you know what really happened in Lowgate Cemetery that night. Judge from hell. It was Jigoku, your Japanese acquaintance, who killed Asogi in the end, you see. Traitor. He claimed to be the man's friend, but when push came to shove, he pulled the trigger. Just before Mr. Jigoku left the courtroom earlier, he said that the assassin exchange proposal was a demand from his British counterpart, not a request. So he coerced him too, using what happened in the graveyard. At that time, Jigoku was the Minister of Foreign Affairs negotiating international treaties with Britain. You can imagine what would have happened if it came to light he murdered a compatriot 10 years earlier. He would have lost everything. I merely reminded him of that. Did you sleep at night? These past 10 years, I fought tirelessly with the darker recesses of London's criminal underworld, and have used whatever means necessary to ensure that justice prevails and law and order reign supreme. Couldn't be further from the truth. The fact is, you haven't fought crime at all! Dare you! I saved Clint 1-6 from dishonor in his death! Whilst behind the scenes, you systematically buried anyone who stood in your way. And then, you made my father take the blame! It's unavoidable. It was the only way to protect our justice system and public order! Let's not forget the others you've killed as well! Setting the defendant up as the Reaper to cover up the truth behind the murders of countless more! That's enough! Do you have any idea of the conniving that led me to the acquittals of this wretched criminals? You have to fight fire with fire! Our courts can't function without a Reaper! Can't you see what I've done for this country? This has been my struggle! You've done nothing! Lord Von Zixi, who worked tirelessly and justly in court, was enduring the disgrace of the Reaper name! And Inspector Gregson fought with anguish for having sullied his hands through a desire to do the right thing. Not to mention Genshin Osorgi, who risked his life going in pursuit of the truth that you tried to hide! No. The darker recesses of London's underworld were largely filled by you! You little... When will you get it through your thick skulls? It was for the Queen and country. I'm tired of that excuse. You've consistently twisted the truth for bargaining power to make others do your bidding. Nothing more. People who willingly twist the truth and coerce others have no right to call themselves part of the judiciary. I strongly suggest you don't ever talk of justice again! Well. Dear me, my good fellows. Dear me. A well-deserved round of applause, I think, for quite a marvellous performance. What are you talking about? It's delightfully brave expressions. That beautifully pronounced Queen's English. Really, our friends from the Far East are quite the picture of industriousness. You fraud! Gave your mockery! Please, don't misunderstand. It really is exactly as you've both said. What are you trying to say? Occupied the darker recesses of London's underworld, and how did you put it? Done nothing. I confess it's a little embarrassing to have it pointed out quite so starkly, but yes, I really have done nothing, which means I can be indicted for nothing. No. It's true. Personally, I've committed no crime. I've merely been surrounded by fools who've acted very rashly indeed. You can't get away with that. You've consistently preyed on people's weaknesses. And what? Threatened them? Are you sure it wasn't just bargaining? I would like to address all the good lords, ladies, and gentlemen of the judiciary here present. You all know of these dark recesses in our great capital, and deep down, I believe you also know that to fight those who dwell there requires at least some of us to occupy the darkness ourselves. So let me appeal to your good sense now. Consider the situation with me. If this catalogue of horrifying revelations were to become common knowledge among the 6 million inhabitants of London, what might happen? To learn that the infamous murderer of royals and nobles was a respected member of the aristocracy himself. That evidence was fabricated in the scapegoat's trial amid secret negotiations with prosecutors to effect a jailbreak. The Reaper of the Bailey was an organized group of assassins managed by a Scotland Yard inspector. And finally, it was all masterminded by the Lord Chief Justice himself. The general public of Britain knew the truth. All faith in the police and the prosecutor's office would be completely lost. Without doubt, public order in the capital would completely break down. We'd be collapsed back to the lawless days of the last century. Precisely as it was 100 years ago, when 1 in 10 of the population were criminals. Think what we've accomplished since then. A public policing force, a comprehensive set of laws. And if we want to continue to preserve this new era of law and order, I say again, we must at times occupy the darkness ourselves! We have successfully identified and apprehended the man responsible for taking Inspector Gregson's life. That is all was expected of this trial. All these other matters have been discussed. that have been discussed will be eliminated from the minutes of these proceedings in the interest of preserving law and order. And to protect Her Majesty the Queen, of course. Well, my lord, ladies and gentlemen, what say you?
He has a point. The things Lord Strongheart has said are quite unforgivable. On the other hand, isn't it our duty to maintain law and order? You can't deny that the threat of the Reaper over the years has done wonders for the crime rate. And by fair means or foul, it's all thanks to Lord Strongheart.
Are you hearing this? This is the will of the British judiciary. Me too, wrong seats. Shit. Oh my gosh. For your rousing response, friends, I express my heartfelt gratitude. Therefore, in accordance with the overwhelming wishes of the court, the record shall be erased. Oh, no. You have to respect the man's ability to turn a situation to his favour. Lord Strongheart really is a master of manipulation. Conclusively proven his guilt.
He still manages to evade justice. I just don't know what we can do.
I'm scared. Looks like the trial really is going to come to an end now. I'm almost out of options, I think. There's really only one path left open to me. Let's see what this means. At critical times like this, I've always found myself thinking it's best to wait and see what happens. I can't help feeling that perhaps you've missed countless opportunities as a result. How could you possibly know my life has been one long list of missed opportunities? Let us never have this discussion again! Bailiff! Sequester the minutes of this trial! Not so fast, my lord. The defense has evidence to present. You're always tardy, counsel. I have no sympathy for tardiness. The resolve of Unoskin Naruhodo materializes a fraction too late again. Roll credits. Fear not, Mr. Naruhodo. I certainly won't object if you decide to make perhaps a wiser choice now. Right, a wise choice, of course. Here it comes. Alright. Okay, serious. I'm gonna get you on this. Okay. Yes, as I know only too well. The only thing that carries any weight in court is hard evidence. Mr. Naruhodo! Evidence is there to use at this stage in the trial. I have an idea. I don't know whether anything will come of it, but if there was ever a time for using this particular item, it's now! Without further ado...
Oh my! Yes! Mr. Sholmes asked if you had that with you earlier.
Oh my god. We've exposed all of Lord Strongheart's wrongdoing now. I've no doubt that Mr. Sholmes had already deduced exactly how the truth will unfurl. So I think it must be time for the great detective to take center stage, don't you?
Absolutely!
Let's take the hair by the ears then and heave! Alright, here it goes. Heave! Ow! My dear fellas, must I remind you every time? A gentle tug will suffice! Mr. Sholmes! You're looking in quite the wrong direction, Mr. Naruhodo. Because I'm over here! Ah! Mr. Naruhodo! He's dead! It's Mr. Sholmes! It's a corpse! Oh no, they vaporized him! I wasn't expecting you back, Sholmes. Delighted to be here again, Lord Strongheart. What? What is the meaning of this? Bailiff, seize him! Put that man in irons! This is a close court! You've been warned once already, man! Oh, we gotta get hold of him, my lord! Alright, that's right. Wait. We just go right through him! Mr. Naruhodo, I must congratulate you on your fine deductions. Mr. Soames, what on earth is... Are you familiar, I wonder, with the invention known as the telephone? Well, yes. I hear that some public telephones have been installed recently in Tokyo. The sound of the speaker's voice is converted to an electrical signal and transmitted instantly to another place. Quite. Sounds are transmitted. So could not images keep them company, I'm mused. Iverson did some modest experimentation to develop such a device specifically for this very day. Modest experimentation, Mr. Soames? What a modest description. And somewhat incidentally, I thought we might just as well transmit an entire scene. Somewhat incidentally, Mr. Soames? No, you're just being immodest. Do you need to say... You're not actually here, Soames. Ah, I knew my trusty partner would have no trouble grasping the concept. Except he's grasping the stand to steady himself after your shock arrival. Father, I would have hoped he might have been forewarned, being the great detective's great partner. Leave my courtroom at once! Get out! I swear to you! Dear me! You, on the other hand, Lord Strongheart, appear to have a very poor grasp of the situation. Allow me to reiterate, I am not here, which would, I hope, lead naturally to one asking, where exactly are you? The very question I was awaiting! I am at present enjoying the air in a rather splendid garden. A garden. Not just any garden, you understand. A garden at Buckingham Palace. What? You can't be! Buckingham Palace! What's Buckingham Palace, Mr. Sottle? I've never heard of it. In the whole year you've been here. Do you ever read the news, Mr. Nuddlehuddle? Mr. Soames? Is Iris with you there? Oh, well no. Iris is currently enjoying some tea. With Her Majesty. Her Majesty! Not just any Her Majesty, you understand. Her Majesty, the Queen of the British Empire. What? What? What on earth is all this about? Buckingham Palace is Her Majesty the Queen's residence in London, Mr. Nuddlehuddle. Order! I demand immediate silence! Her Majesty the Queen, you can't be... I mean, no! Some sort of unforgivably distasteful trickery by a third-rate detective, that's all! Unforgivably distasteful trickery? What an apt description. A closed court session attended by elite members of the judiciary is a rare event. I presume that Her Majesty would be more than a little curious about the proceedings. So, I decided to show her everything, from start to finish. Huh? You showed her? Indeed. By dint of the Herlock Soames remote cinematograph. You meddling. This is some kind of nightmare. Just as I appear to be standing before you, regaling you with talk of my latest invention. No doubt you've inferred that the reverse is also true. You don't mean... Her Majesty has seen and heard every moment of the proceedings.
I assumed there would be no objection. After all, every trial in this country is conducted under the auspices of Her Majesty, as you know. You! I confess, I'm quite impatient to hear Her Majesty's opinion about the unforgivably distasteful trickery in which you've been engaged over the past 10 years. I was merely...
Oh, so sorry to keep you all waiting.
Vicky and I had so much to talk about. Vicky. Iris, there you are. Oh my god. In fact, I have a little message here from Her Majesty. A message? Vicky. Well then, if everyone is sitting comfortably. Yes, of course. Forthwith and with immediate effect, all authority previously afforded to Maelstrom Heart is hereby revoked forevermore. Furthermore, he will be prosecuted for crimes against his country in a public trial by jury in the coming days. So, it seems Her Majesty doesn't believe we need to fight fire with fire. Justice in this country needn't be administered from the shadows at all. Maelstrom Heart, the darkness you fostered to conceal your despicable actions these last 10 years is a thing of the past now. After today, your brand of law and order has no future, because no longer are you the Lord Chief Justice. In the eyes of the law and of Her Majesty the Queen, you are nothing but a criminal. Adjourn! 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 God is adjourned! Judge of hell! Yeah! And we all died. But yes, burn! Woo! Get wrecked! Ugh. Lord Clint von Zeus left a will in which he confessed to everything. And those words came out of the Sogi's mouth. It deranged me completely. You must do anything and everything in my power to contain the situation. But I couldn't find the damn document. I searched the cell, but it wasn't there. Which precipitated the jailbreak plot, I presume. What do you mean? The deed to obtain that will was all-consuming. I was sure that if I facilitated Asogi's escape, he would emerge with the will somewhere on this person. Despite searching his limp body in the cemetery that night, it still eluded me. It never even crossed my mind that it was concealed in the sword's hilt. What pains me now is that my brother left this world without a word to me. I'm sorry, Lord von Zeeks. Point of fact, I think perhaps that isn't the case. Sorry? How can that be? There is more to his lost will and testament. Damn, how much did he fit in that one sheet of paper? What? Alright, let's see it.
confront the prospect of my demise. I feel bitter regret for my younger brother. Barak, you've always looked up to me. And now, you follow in my footsteps to become a prosecutor. It is my fervent wish that my unspeakable deeds should not hinder your advancement. I ask not for understanding, for none could understand my depravity. I ask only for forgiveness. Sergei is a fine detective and a hunter worthy of respect. He has agreed to honor my final 2 wishes. The first is that this document survives. The second, I cannot commit to paper. I have confessed my sins to my wife. May she find resolution in my death. With my eternal gratitude to my Japanese friend, I rest my quill. Clint von Zeeks. Clint. Mel Strongheart. You colluded with Seishiro Jigoku in a criminal plot so immense it spanned the oceans. You cold-heartedly murdered all those who knew the truth about what happened 10 years ago. But why did you set about that now, a whole decade later? To ascend to the very peak. These last 10 years made me realize being the Lord Chief Justice wasn't enough, short of becoming Her Majesty's Attorney General. I could have no real power to effect the changes needed in this country. For that promotion, I needed to ensure no remnants of the past remained. How could you? I like everything to run smoothly, in the exact manner that I prescribe, like a well-oiled machine. And I was just a step away. And for your ambition to succeed, did you even bother to count the number of brilliant people you have killed? Ah, Mr. Reaper, are you not forgetting something? Such as? You very much adopted your prosecutor-like demeanor in the proceedings now. But the reality of the situation is that you are the defendant in this trial. However, the presiding judge would appear to have fallen from the bench, as it were. May I suggest, therefore, that we entrust the final adjudication to an old friend? My lord! As a member of the judiciary, I have been following the proceedings from the gallery. From the gallery. But why did you get kicked out? I must say, I shan't ever forget the extraordinary battle between good and evil that I witnessed here today. The darkness that has blighted justice in our land these past 10 years has at last been dispelled. Thanks, in no small part, to the efforts of a bright young star from the east, Defense Counsel Naruhodo. Yes, my lord. On behalf of everyone here present in the Old Bailey, I give you my heartfelt thanks. You're too kind, my lord. The first time I faced you in court, just under a year ago now, faintest of intimations that if British justice, so warped and twisted over its long history, was finally to know change, this might just be the man to do it. But at the time, I wouldn't allow myself to acknowledge the possibility. I couldn't overcome my hatred of the Japanese after the circumstances of my brother's death. It's just one person though, and he didn't even do it. Mr. Naruhodo, allow me to apologize for countless discourtesies on my part. You are a lawyer of boundless talent.
Lord Von Speaks.
When I first arrived in Great Britain, I was literally a nobody. Certainly not a lawyer. The truth is, my fortunes have entirely been made by the miraculous people I've met. My best friend, Cosmo Sogi, who led me here in Britain in the first place. A loyal and ever-patient judicial assistant, Mr. Suttle, who helped me study to become a lawyer. The brilliant Lord Von Zieks, who never failed to challenge his Nipponese rival. Not to mention the exceptional master of logic and reasoning, who showed me the true art of deduction, Mr. Sholmes. Saving the best for last, Mr. Naruhodo. What a relief. I'm well aware that without all these people's help and support, I wouldn't be where I am today. The truth is a guiding light that always leads to happiness. I've lived by that principle for a long time now, but actually, it's not true. The truth can also cause great pain. Sometimes even leave people on the brink of despair. For that reason, there are those who feel the need to hide the truth, who do it instinctively even. But as soon as we allow our eyes to settle on something other than the truth, darkness takes hold. And from there it grows, until eventually it makes us blind to the guiding light of the truth altogether. So that's why it's my belief that we must all resolve never to avert our eyes from what is just and true. So that we can continue to walk the straight and narrow path ahead. Well, I must excuse myself now. But before I go, Mr. Naruhodo, let me compliment you on your grand opus. What? Without your beautifully composed case against Lord Strongheart, Her Majesty would have been unable to act. Thanks to you and your fellows, the haunting undertones corrupting Britain's justice system have been silenced. Thank you very much. Jesus, it's so good. I'm sorry, that's what I think every time I say that. So our paths will cross again somewhere. Well then, it would appear that this long trial has finally come to an end. My apologies for any anxiety caused, my lord. I'm quite sure we shall meet again here in the courtroom before long, Prosecutor Baroque von Zieks. In conclusion of these proceedings, I hereby declare the defendant, Baroque von Zieks, not guilty! Woo! Yay! Oh no, it's finally over! That is all! Court is adjourned. I'm probably not gonna talk again for like a good week. Holy fuck. Okay, here we go. It really is all over. But did I sacrifice too much? Mr. Naruhodo, I really must congratulate you. It was a truly splendid performance. Honestly, I couldn't be happier for you. Thank you very much. But I really couldn't have done it without you on my side through it all, Mr. Sato. Oh! Your kind words mean so much to me. Oh, it really was a splendid show, Naruhodo. I'd have thought you'd be smiling from ear to ear, but you look rather glum. Well, of course, I'm delighted about the verdict, but in exposing the truth, I'm afraid I've caused my client a great deal of pain. I'm really not sure that's what a lawyer ought to be doing. Didn't you say as much? The truth can cause pain, but eventually it'll lead to good things. The guiding light. You said something. In that case, I'm quite sure that when you see Lord Von Zeke's smiling face, everything will seem much better. Oh, dang it, we don't have the picture! No! I've been robbed! No! Mr. Sato! Everything seems worse. He has a face like thunder. Oh dear. I really shouldn't have presumed. No, I wanted a smiling Von Zeeks and not just a photograph, Mr. Naruhodo. Yes? Almost a year it's been now since I first encountered you here in this very courthouse. For you to have risen to the level of excellence you demonstrated today, well, it's quite remarkable. I suppose the most unpalatable truth you could ever imagine in court today. It feels as though I've robbed you of something you held so dear. What was it he said? To fight those who dwell in darkness requires at least some of us to occupy the darkness ourselves. But that is just a feeble excuse of a coward. Only those with a steadfast eye for the truth have what it takes to fight the dark forces of crime. You made fine work of establishing that fact in court today. Oh. Thank you. What magnanimous words. I'm quite sure the Kazuma-sama would have a smile on his face at this very moment if he were here. Kazuma. Ah! Oh no! Not him too! Mr. Sato! There's another angry face here! Oh my! And it really was here! Lord Von Zeeks. Allow me to congratulate you on your acquittal. Congratulate me, or curse me. You failed to bring down the Reaper. I owe you an apology. No, it is I who should apologize. Your father, Genshin, if I had been stronger, then perhaps an unforgivable error of judgment. I can offer no excuse. And I can offer no forgiveness. said. I suppose you fought for justice and the truth. For that, at least, I can't withhold respect. Your words mean more to me than you could know. I will hold them dear.
Kazuma-sama.
I must say, there's one thing that's still bothering me. What's that? The will that Lord Clinfonsees wrote before his duel with my father. Sogi is a fine detective, and a hunter worthy of respect. He has agreed to honor my final two wishes. The first is that this document survives. The second, I cannot commit to paper. I have confessed my sins to my wife. May she find resolution in my death. With my eternal gratitude to my Japanese friend, I rest my quill. Clinfonsees. What can the second of his final wishes have been? That your father agreed to honor, you mean? Think perhaps I might be able to shed some light on that. What? Father? It was 10 years ago, as you know. The day before the execution was scheduled. I went to the prison to say my farewells to Genshin. Why aren't you putting up more of a fight, Genshin? If you'd only agreed to it, say Shiro and I would gladly petition the government. We've been through this already. You don't need to worry about me. Anyway, Yuji, I have a favor to ask of you. Something of great importance. You're one of my greatest friends, Genshin. Whatever it is, consider it done. I'm going to tell you an address. I need you to go there at once. It's secret, telling no one. You should find a lady of the gentry in hiding there. A lady of the gentry? She's not in a good way. She's with child. The birth is imminent. As a medical man, I'd like you to attend to her. Please, you're our only hope. What any chance? It's the child yours, Genshin. Don't be daft. It's a favor that was asked of me by a man I knew. It's his dying wish. My goodness! I swore to the man that I would help, that I would do whatever I could for his wife and his unborn child. If something should happen to me, I need to ask you that same favor. You're the only person I know that I can truly rely on. What did you say? If something should happen to you, tomorrow night, you're going to be... You never know though, do you? What life will bring. Alright then, tell me the address. I'll head there at once. You say Shiron... No! Not with him! Pardon? This is a favor I'm asking of you. And only you, Yuji. Right, I see. Very well then. The very night, I caught a train from Paddington to Dartmoor in Devon. I found the old house. In the middle of nowhere it was. An old hunting hold lay asleep in the grounds. The poor woman was on the floor at the back of a darkened room. She was in mortal danger. I broke her waters to precipitate the labour before she weakened further. But it was a tortuous birth. I did everything humanly possible for her and her child. And in the end, I was lucky enough to welcome a new life into the world. But tragically, my efforts to save the mother's life were in vain. I held the healthy newborn girl in my arms and wept for longer than I cared to remember. Eventually, in something of a daze, I looked around the room. There was precious little in it, but an old travel trunk caught my eye. It had clearly been well looked after all the years, made of top quality leather with fine stitching. It was when I saw the emblem on the side of it that everything dropped into place. B for Baskerville. Baskerville? You mean the woman was the wife of Lord Clint von Zeeks? That's right. The newborn was his daughter. But that makes no sense! Why on earth wouldn't Clint have entrusted the child in my care in that case? I was completely unaware that he even had a daughter. I suppose he didn't really have any choice. What? Well, your brother said that he confessed everything to his wife. So she must have been beside herself with worry for her child. If the true identity of the professor were ever to be made public, the girl would be forever branded as the daughter of the infamous mass murderer. So the only solution was to distance the young girl from the von Zeeks family as much as possible. I don't believe it. I imagine that in his final hour, Lord Clint von Zeeks made the obvious choice. He would have thought to himself, this Japanese man here is someone I can trust. I honored my promise to Genshin, of course. However, only a month later, I was summoned back to Japan. Without disclosing the parentage of the child, I couldn't obtain permission to take her with me. Awful. I was completely at a loss. In the end, I had to ask my great friend. I asked him if he would be a father to her. Being Mr. Sholmes, I presume. Yes. He took one look into my eyes and agreed to it on the spot. Mr. Sholmes, he has a heart of gold. Really, all it can be said that I did for the child was to give her a name. Oh? When I come to Britain, I was trying to escape from the grief of losing my darling wife. So it was her name that I gave the little girl. Your wife's name, Professor Mikotoba. In other words, the name of my mother. Ayame Mikotoba. That's right, Ayame, or in English, Iris. Iris? Uh-huh. I had no idea. Eh? Ow! Is the nanohotter? What's wrong? This little thing just pinched me on the behind through my trouser pocket. Hard! Ah, my dear fellows, can you hear me? Testing, testing. Mr. Jones, is that you? Ow! Yes, we can hear you! You see what excessive talking can do? Let that be a lesson to you.
Mr. Sharms, we weren't able to thank you properly before, but you were simply marvelous. The checkmate move was a stroke of genius.
Or convenience. Oh, never mind. Indeed it was, wasn't it? I surpassed myself, I feel. It has become apparent to me that I had to stop the Lord Chief injustice would require such measures.
Oh no, Susie! Iris!
Oh.
Oh, I'm so pleased. What a wonderful
outcome. Oh my gosh. Her Majesty Queen Vicky said she thought my special blend was delicious. Oh, I'm sure she did. After all, no one brews a more delicious tea than you do, Iris.
Let's have a party to celebrate. Miss Reaper, Uncle, you must simply come too.
I'm afraid I couldn't. The Reaper of the Bailey, fostered by a 10-year-old girl. His niece?
No, really?
Pooh! Oh my gosh. But I give you my word that I shall present myself at your residence in the near future to express my gratitude.
How lovely! You've promised now, I won't let you forget. Bye for now then.
Alright, thank you for your help earlier.
Oh, that was nothing. Just come back home soon.
Ah! One final pinch goodbye, was it? Well, I think I ought to be leaving. Or Von Zieks, would you care to accompany me? Certainly. Mr. Naruhodo, allow me once again to express my deep gratitude to you. I believe you saved my life.
Wait, Lord Von Zieks!
Yes. What are you intending to do now? Well, clearly, I shall have to resign from the prosecutor's office. What? Clearly, I intend to publicize the full truth about the Professor case. Once that's done, the Von Zieks family will be ostracized completely from London society. Surely not. So as soon as I'm free from my employment, I shall leave the capital. I see. Don't be a fool. Those the actions of a man once feared as the mighty Reaper of the Bailey? I beg your pardon. For the past 10 years, you've endured that pseudonym and been cast as one of the dark forces yourself. Now that you've finally been freed from that disrepute, the battle is just beginning, surely. Well, I certainly never expected to hear those words from your lips. I waited a very long time to come to London. Now I'm properly here. I intend to learn all that I can. Anyway, goodbye for now. Ryunosuke Naruhodo. That's it? Kazuma Sogi. Seems as though he's really matured suddenly. He's not the only one who's matured, Mr. Naruhodo. Well, I think we should make our way back to Baker Street. We must help Iris with tonight's dinner. We must. It was then that I came to an important decision about my future. Ooh.